Islam, Shalom, Assalamu Osio, Hola, Aloha, Bonjour. This is your brother Zach Bey, Indigenous American War, coming to you live and in full effect. Thank you for joining me. Once again, please hit that like, share, subscribe button. Hit the notification bell if you would like to be notified whenever I upload new content. The thumbs up helps with the algorithm. Leave a comment down below and interact with my content. I really do appreciate your viewership. Let's jump back into it. I want to continue on my topic of tangible reparations for American chattel slavery and how we can continue to get the ball rolling, how we can get it started and stop waiting on other people, agencies, government organizations, whoever claims to want to help us or get the conversation started or do so-called studies like the government says. Let's bypass all that. Let's get this done ourselves. We have enough finance and capital collectively as a nation, the so-called Black people in America. I believe our gross national spending is like $2 trillion or something like that, which is higher than the GDP of many foreign nations. All right, so if we can use some of that collectively to, I would say we need to start at hiring a task force or some type of team, but we use international experts. All right, so we don't get people from here inside the United States of America. Not to say that people here are not qualified, but I think they may be a little too close to the problem. So if you're too close to something, you can't see the full scope of something. So I would suggest we get someone who's not from here, who doesn't have any real history connecting to here, but they are a leading expert in their field of study, and we use their international research and knowledge and base as a starting point to get them to take a closer, much broader look at American chattel slavery and restitution or reparations for such atrocities historically. All right, so I believe we can get this funded on our own. All right, so we have to use our own capital, we have to use our own resources, we have to pull together the resources and the funds we need to hire these international experts. All right, and I believe we can get people who are experts or leading in their field of study in economics to study the economic recourse or the economic effects that it's had on our people here in this nation, the lack of reparations and what was owed to us. Tax experts. All right, so anyone who's an expert on like taxation, of course they would have to be familiar with the laws in this country on taxation, federally and even statewide. So, tax experts, I would say we need historians. So historians to actually take a real historical look at what happened here in America due to American chattel slavery and the effect that it had around the world. Because the United States of America, when it was founded and they did when they started trading and started getting recognized internationally, and they decided to make this national product, so-called Negroes, by stripping the nationality from the Moors and the indigenous people here in America. So they decided to create a national product and name it Negroes, Blacks, Coloreds, all that stuff, to strip them of their personhood and make them chattel property, like cattle, similar to a cow, a steer, a lamb, any type of cattle that's, maintained, stored, cared for, but no personhood at all. So historians are taking a closer look at that. trust experts, people who are experts in trust law. We need that internationally. So, people who are experts in law in general. Um, I would say we can get someone who's a Swiss banking expert. All right, those Swiss bank accounts are over there not being touched, and we need to figure out exactly what's going on and how we can get into that and get funds that can be stored there and protected there, and that won't be able to be touched by any government on the planet. Land surveyors. All right, in the previous video, I spoke about the eminent domain neighborhoods. That was our neighborhoods and properties that were taken due to eminent domain, government seizures, fires, floods, things of that nature that destroyed Negro Wall Street all the way up and down the eastern coast of the United States of America into Tulsa, Oklahoma. We also need to have negotiators, experienced negotiators, people who can negotiate for us on our behalf with governments, different agencies around the world, because there are different organizations and agencies around the world that benefited and claim to have benefited from the transatlantic slave trade or American chattel slavery, and they have actually put funds to as like restitution for reparations. This has happened. I know there was a huge church that felt liable, and this was overseas, and they set money to the side for American chattel slavery. That's something that wasn't really talked about or spoken about. And I was like, okay, if this is one organization that's putting money to the side to say that they benefited, and then we spoke about the colleges, the historical colleges like Georgetown University, that was built with American chattel slave labor, how they are trying to do some type of some type of restitution or reparations, as far as allowing, certain students to enroll into their university campus and stuff like that for free or discounted prices or something like that. But that's not enough. It's not enough at all. And it's not being talked about. But there's plenty of international organizations, there's plenty of countries and nations that owe a debt because they benefited, whether or not it was a first-hand benefit, a second-hand benefit, or a third-hand benefit from American chattel slavery here, or the transatlantic slave trade in general. Even though it wasn't as widespread as we were originally taught, but the atrocities that did take place during that time, there's paper trails, there are shipping manifests which kept track of all the cargo that was held on these vessels that traversed the coast and moved from either the United States to Europe, the Caribs, all over, and actually did some of the human cargo movement and transplanting from one area to another area, from islands, transplanting people from the island nations or island states to the mainland, and vice versa, from the mainland to the islands. That's how families were separated. Also, I believe we should hire a film crew to film the process, and also for safety, so no unfortunate accidents happen that people didn't have an eye on, and first-hand knowledge of what we're trying to do. We don't want anybody to go missing. We don't want anybody to disappear. We don't want anybody to be threatened because the powers that be are threatened, because we are coming for what's rightfully ours, not just finances, but the land, what we are owed historically for generations. We're coming for it, and we don't. I personally believe people might, potentially disappear. People might back off because they're being threatened, and different things. People's livelihoods, people's finances might be threatened. because they're trying to expose these things and put them to the forefront. So I believe a film crew should be, filming a lot of the processes step by step, so we can be as transparent as possible, so we can get a spotlight internationally on the atrocities that happened here. It's the way most people know about the Holocaust for the so-called Jews during the World War II. So how that is common knowledge, and there is a widespread common sympathy for the people who lives were taken in the atrocities that did happen during that time period. We need that same spotlight and that same common knowledge and common sense of empathy for us, for our situation. All right, we need that will help it, and that will go a long way. um as far as like emotional intelligence wise, I believe we should hire international lawyers, um or international law experts, etc., to help us get the ball rolling internationally on what we are owed, so they can take a wide view on exactly what's going on. So we have the historians, we have tax experts, we have film crews, we have banking experts, we have land surveyors, we have economists, we have historians. All of these people we need to hire, get together as a task force to come up with a real and tangible way for us to receive tangible and physical reparations in in this modern era, because we we can't continue to produce generations after generations living under the same struggles and the same systems and never receive compensation, while the ancestors who are still here, who lived, the elders who are still here, who lived through some of those atrocities, like the Greenwood District, the Tulsa, Oklahoma Greenwood District riots, and they were children during that time, and they can recount the stories of the atrocities that happened, and the burning, and the people being killed, and the bodies in the street, and the mobs running people out of town, stealing properties, pillaging and looting like savages. We have firsthand accounts, and the people who lived through those atrocities are still alive today, and the United States government are telling them no, they do not deserve reparations or restitution for the destruction, the atrocities, the brutality, and the savagery shown by the American US government and the people who were behind the riots and the burnings and the floods and the redlining and the Jim Crow and the colorism and the segregation and the housing covens. All of these things that have opposed our people coming into our own and being self-sufficient and sustainable have all been roadblocks and counters to the glory that we should have and the generational wealth that we should have in this day and age. All right, there's a concerted effort, and it's a billion-dollar industry to keep our families disjointed, separated, struggling, fighting, supporting uh, government agencies that don't support us. It's a billion-dollar industry. I believe anybody who supports the idea of welfare in the United States, but is opposed to the idea of tangible reparations for the descendants of American chattel slavery, is an enemy of our people. If you believe in welfare states, if you believe that people should be taken care of who needed welfare, and you are against tangible reparations for American chattel slavery, you are enemy, you are part of the problem. That's what I believe, and that's what I stand on. So there's plenty of ways for us to make a way and make a difference, and for us to get a spotlight on exactly what's going on, and for us to get experts to take a look at this, to take a microscope to the things and put on Front Street, on blast, anybody who is opposed to us. All right, we can do this by crowdfunding, um, privately secured resources or funds, no secrets, no secrecy, full disclosure, via the film crew and to spotlight everything that's going on with our tangible reparation goals so we can garner support internationally, nationally, and anybody who's an ally, stand up, stand with us, stand together for what is right. I believe we should have a type of 10-point plan like the Black Panther Party had, to lay out and establish our goals and what we seek to accomplish as a baseline. I believe we should also have a large social media influence so we can get a lot of the younger influencers to actually push our goals and our narratives on their platforms to reach a broader audience. Of course, to reach a broader audience and to spotlight, once again, in a positive light. So as much positive media and press and influence as we can possibly get to garner support and momentum for our goal of tangible reparations. And it will also help us to spotlight who is opposed to us. All right. So the more light we place on who is for us, it'll also cast light on who is against or oppose us. And we can directly challenge those people and their ideas and ideals. Who is responsible? We can find out. Corporations, families, due through who owns the land, who purchased the land after it was taken from us, things of that nature. We can actually track these people down via paper trail and see who's actually liable and see who benefited firsthand, secondhand, or even third hand from American chattel slavery. All right. And third hand benefits can reach all the way to today's modern age. Over 200 plus years removed can be the third hand benefits are still felt today in today's modern age in the year 2024 Gregorian calendar year. All right. This movement or effort can be so large that I believe the IRS would even need a new branch added to them, the Internal Revenue Services, which control taxation or regulates taxation here in the United States, right? They will potentially even need a new branch added to them in order to hold the corporations and the people who are personally liable, the families, the family names, the generational wealth that has been built from families who benefited from American chattel slavery firsthand, and then their descendants secondhand, and then their descendants third hand, and anybody who associates with them could have somehow benefited third hand. Insurance companies, construction companies, lumbering companies, all of these people who have to deforest land, who have to survey the land, who build up on land that was taken from our people. We can look at who purchased that stuff and find out exactly who owes us. And that's exactly what we need this task force for internationally. Not people who are from here who might have ties, international people who have no ties over here, who they're strictly doing a task and a job righteously. I also believe that for who owes reparations should be taxed accordingly, as in the corporations and the families who are personally liable, who we can figure out who actually benefited firsthand, secondhand, and third hand. And we may even need to hire, most likely we will need to hire our own legal team, like the Johnny Cochran law firm, how he defended O.J. Simpson, he defended Michael Jackson. This man was a very, very talented lawyer, and he knew law. And I believe he was taken out because he was going to take the United States government to task for reparations. If you look up the rumor on why the late Johnny Cochran might have met his early demise, because one of the last tasks that he took upon himself to do was to go after United States government for American chattel slavery and reparations for us, and they took him out. So we might potentially need to hire attorneys to actually do this for us, and of course to be as transparent as possible to keep everyone safe. All right, so thank you for joining me. This is your brother Zach Bey and Did in This America More. Thank you very much. Wado. Peace.